guys, welcome back to the final day of e.l.f. week. Every video this week I have been chatting about e.l.f. Day number 1 was a what's new from e.l.f. haul and try on. Day number 2 was a 4 looks, 4 palettes using their new $3 and amazing bite-sized eyeshadow palettes. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Flawless Finish foundation and doing a side-by-side comparison of their hydrating camo concealer and original camo concealer. So there will be timestamps down below if you're looking to skip ahead to a particular product. I will also have all of my previous e.l.f. videos linked down below, along with some other content related to foundations, oily skin, all of that good stuff. So be sure to subscribe if you like these types of videos, and let's go ahead and get started. So this foundation has actually been around for quite some time. They did update their shades, I believe, last year, so that's something to keep in mind whether you're repurchasing or watching older reviews trying to match yourself, etc., etc. The shade that I'm wearing today will be from the newer shades, and the kind of confusing thing that they did was some of the shades from the old range they included in the new range, but they're new shades, if that makes sense. Like, even explaining it is kind of a little complicated potentially, so I feel like they should have just totally started over with new shade names. But anyways, I'm wearing the shade Honey today. It's described as tan with neutral undertones, which generally is what I like to go for. I feel like this is a really good match. I'm gonna go ahead and prime my face. I'm gonna prime my entire face today because I am gonna be doing that side-by-side concealer comparison. So I'm gonna use the Matte Putty Primer. So I'm gonna go ahead and prime and I will be right back. So I've gone ahead and pumped out 2 pumps on my hand. We'll see where that leaves us. This is not a first impression. I have worn this many times, so this will be my full review. First impressions can be interesting, but sometimes my opinions change on foundations, or especially if someone's not wearing it throughout the day, I find that to be really unhelpful. Most foundations look good on application. There's only a couple real bad ones that I've had right on application look bad, so I think like wearing it at least for a little bit and then doing my wear test for you is really helpful, and I'll also of course show it to you in natural light. But I think this is such a good shade match. The tan with neutral undertones is really what I look for in a foundation. I think you can see like I've got some breakouts and stuff here, so that will help us see the coverage. But yeah, I really like the shade match on this. It was a bit of a gamble when I ordered it online. It does have like kind of a thick consistency, but I don't feel like it feels too thick on the skin, because I don't think, did they say what coverage they say? It's lightweight, oil-free, semi-matte finish, but I don't think it says if it's like full coverage, medium coverage. I would consider this a medium. I wouldn't build it up higher or try to build it up higher than a medium. I would just spot conceal if you have any breakouts that you're looking to cover up, or set it with a bit of a powder foundation. It's like a generous medium, we'll call it, because it did a good job covering up these breakouts. And I'm using a sponge, which is always going to lessen the coverage a little. So I'm gonna go ahead and take some flash photos wearing just the foundation and show you a close-up, and then I will be right back to do the application of the concealers. So the foundation has had a little bit of time to set on my face now. I always set my face with a powder either way. It does still feel like a little bit tacky, but I think you can see it gives really nice coverage in the side-by-side and in the close-ups. I think it looks really good. It gives like that generous medium, that we'll call it. So nice coverage, but I can still see my freckles through it, and it feels pretty nice. It doesn't feel like incredibly lightweight because it does have that thicker texture, but it doesn't feel like heavy or cakey, at least at the moment. So moving on to the concealers, they launched the 16-hour camo concealer sometime last year, and then I believe early this year, late last year, they launched the hydrating camo concealer. So I really like, firstly, on their website, they've got a really clear kind of graphic that will help you pick out which concealer may work better for you. So under the original camo concealer, well, okay, firstly, let me say one negative thing. The original camo comes in 26 shades, 8 of them are newer, but the hydrating comes in 25 shades. Why does one come in 26, one comes in 25? I don't know. The coverage is supposed to be full on both of them. They both have a large doe foot size applicator, which I like. Normal to oily for the original camo, normal to dry for the hydrating, matte finish on the original, satin finish on the hydrating. So it's not supposed to be like super dewy, just more satin. Then when it comes to drying time, I thought that this is a really helpful tip. For the original, it says it's quick to dry. For the new hydrating, it says you have time to play. I think that's really a nice bit there. For the wear time for the Camo, they're saying it's 16-hour wear because they called the Camo concealer the 16-hour Camo concealer versus the hydrating Camo concealer says that has a wear time of all day. I don't know if they're saying that's 24 hours or just like kind of through a work day, but the most helpful thing I see here besides the dry time is the shade matching. So for the Camo, it says it dries darker, match your shade to the box, which is kind of hard to do if you're shopping online. And then for the hydrating, it says that it dries to the color in the bottle. So I just sat here, let the concealers dry on my hands, and you'll see in the side by side, it definitely dries deeper for the Camo, and it's even continued to dry here a little bit more on my hand. It's dried deeper, but they still are not a matte, which is annoying because I'm wearing tan sand in both of these, and I feel like, you know, I'm the type of person that sometimes I might want a satin finish, sometimes I might want a matte finish, so I would love them to look the same if I'm buying the same shade of the same line of concealer. But anyways, let's go ahead and put these under my eyes. I'll put the hydrating on this side. The tricky thing is it says you have time to play with this one and don't have time to play with this one. I like to let my concealer set under my eyes either way, but I also need to take like a thumbnail where I'm like, you know. So I'll put these under my eyes. You can see the shade difference. Going on, this looks a little bit lighter. This one looks a little more yellow. So for any concealer, no matter what, I do like to put it under my eyes, let it set for like a second. For the original over on this side, I'm gonna tap it out with my fingers right now to kind of get it in my general place. If you wanna see another shade I picked up in the hydrating, I got the tan walnut thinking it may be a little more neutral. It ends up looking a little gray on my skin. These are definitely not my best shade match, but I haven't found my best shade, and I feel like I heard from a lot of you that you have not found your best shade in this concealer. Like I said, with any concealer, I like to let it set under my eyes and tap it out with my fingers. That's how I keep my coverage. I find if I go straight in with a sponge, like I don't understand if people are putting down like more concealer than me, or they have just, I don't know, different skin, but I cannot just go in with a sponge after putting on my concealer. It just disappears. You can see that this side looks a little more neutral. This side still looks a little more yellow. My favorite brush to blend out around my concealer is the Real Techniques setting brush. So I pat it out with my fingers and then blend out around the edges just to kind of meld everything more into my skin. In terms of coverage, like they're both supposed to be full. I don't think either of them are as full as my Shape Tape, Too Faced Born This Way, the new chunky one, even the L'Oreal, I feel like, the Fresh Wear, or whatever that one is called, Full Wear. Oh, I don't know if you can see much of a difference, but this is the hydrating side and this is the matte side. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish up the rest of my makeup. I will also do another flash photo test and I will be right back. Okay, I am back with my full face of makeup. Everything that I'm wearing is always listed down below. I forgot to mention regarding the matte putty primer, I don't have a ton of experience with it, but I do like it. I did mention in my haul video that I feel like you want to have freshly moisturized skin or spray your face with something before putting it down, just so that it kind of glides onto the skin a little more easily and you don't want to use too much of it. But yeah, I think things look really good. In looking up close, I feel like I slightly prefer the matte side over the satin side, but not a huge difference. I mean, you tell me what you see. I don't see a big difference. I feel like I see a little, maybe more coverage over on this side, but the shade difference, the finish difference, once you put powder and highlighter, etc. on, there's not a huge difference. But overall, I think everything looks really good. The foundation looks good and feels good. I forgot to talk about flash photos for both of them. So when I did the flash photos for just the foundation, here in my lighting, I thought it looked good. There's like quite a bit of a sheen to my skin. And then when I took a flash photo in a dark room, I feel like you can really see the neutralness. So my body looks a little bit deeper and more golden, and the foundation looks a little bit more pink, but like I would never really take a flash photo like that, so it's not a big deal. It's not major flashback. And then when I took the photo with the concealers, I have to say I think it looked pretty good considering the concealer is quite a bit lighter under my eyes. But now that I have the powder and bronzer and everything on, I feel like the shade match is better and less jarring than what it looks like when I first put it on my face. So I'm gonna go ahead and wear this for a few more hours and I will check back with you in some natural light. Hello, coming to you with a check-in here in some natural light. I think you can see the shade still looks pretty good. It hasn't oxidized at any like alarming rate. It definitely feels, the foundation feels a little bit heavier. I feel like my oils are trying to push through, but I think it still looks good in terms of like the way it actually looks. Like I could blot and powder, but I'll probably just leave it. And I think I still have like my blush and everything there. But under my eyes, I feel like they kind of look exactly the same. If you were looking for something that's going to be a lot more hydrating than the original concealer, I don't know that this is going to be it necessarily. Perhaps if you don't set it with powder, like I set them both with the same powder, but I don't know, it kind of looks exactly the same to me. So I'm gonna go ahead and wear these for a few more hours. I have had this on for a while. It's 12:40 now. I think I put it on around 7:45 this morning, but I will wear it for a couple more hours and check back with you then. Hello, it is now the end of my makeup day, and I think you can see I'm a little bit shiny. I've lost a little bit of coverage around here. I feel like my pimples are popping out a little bit, but I did not blot today, so I think this actually held up really well considering it doesn't claim to be like it says it wears throughout the day, but it doesn't kind of say like, oh, good for dry, good for normal, good for oily. My skin is kind of in a combo place at the moment, so I think it looks pretty good. As for the concealers, they both wore essentially the same in my opinion. I feel like under this side, this is the hydrating side, the color looks a little more yellowy, while this side looks maybe slightly more beige. But like I said in my earlier check-in, I don't see a huge difference in wear, so if you felt like the original was too dry, I think you may feel the same about this. I don't have a preference. Do I have a preference? If I was to choose, I think I would go with the original. I think I see a little bit more creasing under here. I don't really believe that any concealer is 100% creaseless, because if you have fine lines or like anything under your eyes, you can't really defy gravity. Some things will perhaps hold up better, or they won't sink in as much, but that's also going to be due to your application, any primer, skincare, powder. So yeah, I think I also lost a lot of coverage around here too, but that's kind of nothing new. But yeah, I think it looks good. Let me blot and powder. I'm gonna powder with a little bit of powder foundation, because I think like I'm just kind of removing my makeup because I want to. I like doing my skincare, my nighttime skincare, as early as possible. But I would be comfortable to continue wearing this. It definitely does feel like heavier on the skin now that the day has gone on and my oils have pushed through. It's started to feel a little bit heavy, but I don't think it looks heavy. Actually, after powdering, it looks pretty good. Let me just then mist myself. This Fenty mist is literally the lightest mist I've ever tried. If you have yet to find a kind of like a dewy or a hydrating mist that is just like, it's like a whisper, like you cannot overdo it. Anyways, that's not what we're here to talk about. Yeah, I think that this foundation is nice. I think that if you have a really oily skin type, I don't think it's going to be the type of thing that will like lock your foundation into place. I would recommend like in terms of drugstore, probably like a NYX Can't Stop Won't Stop, or like a L'Oreal Fresh Wear. What's the Maybelline one? Maybelline Super Stay. If you have a combo, normal or drier skin type, I think this may be a little bit of a better fit, because I think it held up really nicely and it didn't seem to lean either way, being like too dewy, too matte. And I do really, really like the shade match, which I appreciate, which can be a little harder to find when it comes to more affordable products. For the concealers, if I had to choose, I would go with the original. I still don't love the shade. I think once I have all my makeup done, it looks fine, which is kind of the most important thing, I think, but it's definitely not a concealer that I could wear like on its own. I need to wear it in combination with foundation. It's not something I can just pop under the eyes, but I do think it's an okay concealer. I still prefer some other drugstore concealers out there, Maybelline Super Stay. Basically, all the concealer counterparts to those foundations that I just mentioned, I think that they're all better. But I don't think any of these products are bad. I think they're good, but I just don't find myself reaching for them as much as I do those other products, if that makes sense. I try a lot of makeup. I love a lot of makeup, so I try to let you know exactly where my mind is at, because like this is not bad by any means, and I think the $6 price tag is incredible. And let me know what you think. I feel like I got a lot of feedback about the shade range of the concealers being a little bit tricky to figure out and hard to find a good match, so maybe they've got some rejigging to do there. But yeah, thank you so much for tuning into Elf Week. I don't know if you can tell, maybe you can, it might look like it, but working from home today. I went and got my toes done earlier, but I realized, I posted about this on Instagram, but my shirt is not only inside out and backwards, but but also upside down. I don't know how I did that, but it still looks kind of normal because it's like an off-the-shoulder shirt. Anyways, I'm gonna go ahead, wash my face, get into my nighttime skincare, but thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to connect with me, you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at SamanthaJaneYT, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!